Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hey, I'm Miles McIntosh. I play guitar in Apparition, among a few other bands. Yeah, that's
Do you want to
that's
mention what
me.
those other bands are?
Yeah, I play guitar in a band called Dead Body as well. Um, and then, other than that, I got some stuff on the horizon that doesn't really have a name or anything yet. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, Miles, as far as Apparition goes, how would you describe the music that you make for this band? What would you say Apparition is?
Whew. Let's see. I mean, Apparition was kind of just like death metal first and foremost, and it was kind of supposed to be just like a representation of the friendship that me and Andrew have, and Andrew does vocals and drums, and we met while we were both in school for jazz, and both had backgrounds in DIY, punk, hardcore, metal stuff. And yeah, long story short, we were living together and playing tons of music all the time, but not with each other, just in various other, jazz settings or whatever the fuck. Um, and yeah, so we just wanted to start a band together and play music together. And so, man, to answer your question, uh, I mean, it's kind of just like a representation of our lives at the time that we write the music. So, there's a lot of influence as far as like, um, well, when we first started the band, we both kind of came from doom, is kind of what led us into death metal. So, definitely stuck with the doom thing to some degree and wanted to expand on that. Um, and so I guess, uh, yeah, we're like death doom with some weird stuff in there.
I mean, would the weird stuff be a result of your jazz background, your interest in jazz?
uh, I don't know if that's the thing that, I think we're both people that even before, we went to school for music or anything, gravitate towards, more extreme or experimental music. And so I think, as we just got better at our instruments, we kind of, just wanted to push things more and more. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously the education background kind of gave us the tools to do that, I think, in a good way. So
Yeah. I'm curious. Occasionally I speak to people who went to school for music. I think both on a performance side and as well as um, a songwriting composition perspective. Um,
mhm.
in terms of your music education, what was your focus?
So my personal focus was jazz performance, and so I played guitar, and so I'd be, I guess, mostly, yeah, performance, um, and composition as well, a bit, but mostly centered on performance. But we were also encouraged to write our own music as well.
Okay. You also
Yeah.
mentioned a punk and hardcore background. I'm curious which of these things came first. Was it the DIY punk stuff? Was it the jazz stuff, or was it the underground metal stuff?
Oh, for me at least, the DIY punk hardcore. I grew up in a small town called Goleta in California, um, and it's not known for too many things, but one thing that it is known for is Ebullition Records.
Right.
The
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So grew up going to shows around Kent and Lisa, who still operate the distro and still put stuff out, I think, today. Um, and yeah, so very much like we had our little Isla Vista scene. Isla Vista is like the college town in Goleta, that's associated with the UC Santa Barbara. And so yeah, we would just have lots of house shows in Isla Vista, and that's kind of what I grew up with.
Okay. Cool. And you
Yeah.
mentioned apparition. Apparition is a result of your friendship with Andrew. I think you said you met Andrew in music school.
Yeah, we met as we were coming in to auditions or something, I think. Uh, yeah, and obviously we both were in a very similar position, being a little bit older than the rest of the people in the program, and also having a lot more experience, being in bands and all that stuff. And obviously punk and hardcore and metal and all that stuff. So I think we pretty much just saw each other and we were like, oh shit, and we kind of gravitated towards each other at that point. So
Does Andrew have a similar background in terms of underground music?
yeah, he grew up in Bakersfield. I mean, I can't speak for him, too much, but he grew up in
Sure.
Bakersfield and was a part of the punk scene out there and played in bands and went to Munoz Gym. People know what that is, and all that. And then he also kind of, I think, gravitated towards the more like improvised music, like free jazz sort of side of things. And then that's what led him to go to school for music, I think.
Hmm. Okay. I'm curious with your varied backgrounds and
Yeah.
your emphasis on jazz, studying jazz. Why is death metal or this kind of like slow atmospheric death metal the form that your friendship and your musical collaboration took?
Um, well, I mean, I guess the simple answer is that it's like the music that we like and listen
Okay, yeah,
to,
that's fair.
but also we did the first iteration of Apparition was actually a band called Lane that we took the name from Serial Experiments Lane, this like cyberpunk anime from the 90s that like only and it was supposed to be like a weird like noise experiment, like improvisational grindcore with it was us two and our friend Jackie doing vocals. Um,
So
and we
kind of
did
like
one show with
what was it kind of like a Melt Banana or John Zorn kind of thing?
yeah, that was, I mean, that was kind of a big uh influence. And just wanted to like, because it was a weird transition period of like coming out of school and because we had immersed ourselves in that so much for so long, and then also wanting to play other stuff. So yeah, we played one show with that, and then I think Jackie realized it's not what she wanted to do, and then we were like, well, I think, and we were starting to go to shows together at that point, and like death metal shows in LA and stuff. Um, and I think that was just what we were gravitating towards because we were just listening to it the most.
Sure. From the transition from Lane to Apparition, uh, was it? I mean, because I would say that from what you described, I haven't heard Lane, but from what you described, it sounds very, very different from what you guys ended up doing with Apparition. Um, did you feel like you needed a clean break from the old style?
Yeah, I think that was kind of uh, right. We wanted to. I mean, I don't know. That's tough. I don't I think it was really, um, yeah, I mean, I think we did want to get a little bit further away from what we had been immersed in for the last 4 years.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um, and also like we were, because we had started to go to shows around that time, we were meeting, you know, people who also were in death metal bands around here, more so. And yeah, I don't know. I guess it just worked out that way.
Right. I mean, you mentioned that you both had an interest in doom, and you were listening to death metal. Did you guys have a clear idea of what you wanted Apparition to sound like when you went into those first two EPs?
Not really at all. That's the funny part. Like, we kind of were just like we weren't expecting to, you know, when we started the band, we were like, yeah, we'll play local shows, but you know, probably nothing else. So we didn't really like put a whole lot of thought into it beforehand. It was kind of more just like, let's, you know, be in a band together so we can play music and whatnot. But we did, you know, decide on, like, Disembowelment was a band that we both liked, and Incantation and Disciples of Mockery, bands like that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. We kind of early on sort of had rough guidelines, but then it just kind of went where it went.
Right.
So,
Uh,
and that
um,
was
uh,
kind of my whole thing. Like after the demo was like, I just wanted to kind of have more broad influences and not just, um, you know, do the same thing over and over again, I
right,
guess.
right. Yeah. On those early EPs, was it just you and Andrew?
On the demo, yeah, it was just us. And then let's see, on Granular Transformation, it was just us, but then our friend who was in the band at the time, J Nut, played a solo or two. But besides that, yeah, it was just us.
When did you guys expand and get Taylor and the other Andrew?
Let's see. Well, we played our first show like 2 days before the whole COVID thing happened in March of 2020, and that was
Right.
with, yeah, it was me, Andrew, and a different lineup. Um, and then yeah, like a lot happened over the course of the next year or two, obviously. Um, and I think, let's see, it got to the point where the other guys in the band were in, you know, tons of other bands and so busy with other stuff and didn't live near us, and it just wasn't working out, um, to practice and, you know, all that stuff. So we kind of uh, hit up Taylor to fill in for our first show back, and I think it was September 2022. Yeah. And then he was like, "Yeah, I'll fill in." And then after the show, he was like, "You know what? I want to be in this band." So that was cool. And actually, Drew, the guitarist, was our original bass player, for our first show back in March 2020. And so, and I ended up working with him at a screen printing shop. So, kind of just asked him if he wanted to be back in it, and he did. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm curious if it's hard to find members considering your background. I mean, I don't know if you look for other people who have a music school background, or if you're more open to people as long as they share your musical tastes.
Oh, I mean, we're totally. I mean, it's hard finding people for sure, but um, I think the taste thing is the most important, probably. And then obviously ability, you know. Uh, but it is hard to find people, and also living in LA is weird and kind of isolating, and like you know, we're kind of more based in the San Fernando Valley, and I mean, there's plenty of you know, bands and people and venues out here, but you know, it's just a weird place. But yeah, we lucked out with our lineup. So
Yeah. So I've only been to LA once. Would you mind explaining why living in LA is isolating? I mean,
ah, yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think I know what
just
you
a
mean, but
real, yeah. uh, yeah, it's just really big, spread out, and you have to drive everywhere, you
yeah,
know. And uh, I mean, you know, it's not that crazy or anything, but I think it's just coming from a smaller town. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me, but that's, you know,
right,
whatever.
right.
But yeah, you know, like driving to work like 45 minutes each way, and then after that, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do anything most of the time. So it kind
Yeah.
of can take effort to socialize and stuff, but you know, so
Do all of Apparition's songs start with you and Andrew?
yeah. I mean, we write, we're the sole writers of the songs.
Yeah.
So usually, I mean, I would come to Andrew with something first. But there were definitely a couple songs that started with him having just a drum idea, and then I would write a riff for that.
Okay. I mean, so it sounds like you guys are in a practice space together, jamming ideas out.
Yeah, for the most part. I think it was easier to do that, uh, you know, earlier on when we lived together and we had a garage and stuff, and that was a dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, since then, yeah, we have been lucky enough to jam at Andrew's work. Um, and so I think for some of the newer stuff, maybe a little bit more of it was spent, you know, being written in my in my bedroom or whatever, and then taken to Andrew. But it's still very much a mutual thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you guys write with the atmospheric parts in mind?
The atmospheric parts, meaning,
Some of your songs have like keyboard elements and things like that. Um,
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that kind of just comes up as the song progresses. Kind of tend to write things more linearly, I guess. Um, so yeah, if a part feels like it needs something extra, then yeah.
okay. I'm curious with your music school background um, if you have a philosophy behind composition or songwriting, like what makes a song? What's a good song?
Well, that's funny because like I'm still figuring that out, but yeah, I mean, I honestly, it's been a whole journey, you know, and I've been just really into writing music for, you know, 15 years or whatever, but um, honestly, like it still feels like I will be just throwing shit at a wall until it sticks, and I'll drive myself crazy doing it. Um, so it's kind of hard to like explain, but it's kind of just um, like let's see. I guess I'll use an example. A big influence for this upcoming Apparition album was Heretic, Morbid Angel,
Right.
and
Okay.
I feel like in that album, I mean, you know, I know that that's like controversial because a lot of people hate it because it sounds like shit, but but his riffs are just like they're simple yet like they just feel like they're like an honest picture of like his soul, for lack of a better term. Um,
I mean, he's
and
always had
so I,
interesting scale choices. I think that so much of what Morbid Angel is his note selection is always a little bit unusual.
yeah, totally right. He'll definitely use things that are not, part of the cliche or whatever. And I don't want to get too nerdy, but there was a jazz piano player, Thelonious Monk, who people, would say he played like bluesy, but in a different kind of way. And people have compared, whatever. But to me, that's like kind of the same thing with Trey. It's like the elements of death metal are all there, and it is death metal, but there's like so much. Yeah, there's just like a soulfulness behind it. Um, and anyways, so basically, I I mean, with this band, I just kind of will throw all the different ingredients. Like, I'll just hear something and be like, oh, I like that. Put it in there somehow and rearrange it. Until it feels right. Um, and that's hard to explain,
Yeah,
abstract.
yeah. I'm curious with your varied background and all the other projects that you work on. Is there anything you wouldn't do within the scope of Apparition? Do you feel like Apparition has a very uh, are you more focused in terms of songwriting, or do you throw in a lot of different influences into your songs?
I mean, we do throw in lots of different influences, but I think we do try to be as dynamic as we can, but also I think as the band has progressed, um, we've kind of, I don't know, just naturally developed maybe somewhat of a sound. And so I think for this band, and also I think, like, I don't know, uh, I think Andrew has like a really cool, unique style of playing drums that's like not the most technical, but I feel like everything he plays is like very honest and, from the soul.
Yeah,
And so I feel like the riffs are, I kind of try to highlight that, I guess.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's talk about this new album. It's called this will be the second Apparition album. It's called
correct.
Disgraced Emanations from a Tranquil State, and Profound Lore will be
Ooh.
releasing it on the 22nd of March. When did you guys begin work on this album?
Oh, let's see. Um, Probably after we Feel came out in what, 2021. I think kind of had a period of laying low for 6 months or so, and then probably stuff started to flow again. So yeah, about 6 months after Feel came out.
Okay. How would you describe the evolution from Feel to this latest album?
I mean, I think the main things we wanted to do is like just make things a little more extreme on all ends, like, faster things faster, slower things slower, for example. And also just like, I guess also too, we wanted to have our friend and mentor, Michael Mole, play on it, who was a teacher at CSUN at school for us, but he was also into metal, or he is into metal. So we wanted that to happen, and uh, yeah. So and then the rest I feel like was kind of just natural.
Did you say Michael Mull?
Yeah, Michael Mole is his name. He plays woodwinds, mostly sax, but on our upcoming album, he plays the bass clarinet during the interludes with us.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I guess, going back to my previous question, when you, uh, uh, I'm guessing that you've wanted to have Michael Mall contribute for some time, but when you were writing the songs on this album, did you have in mind that you wanted him to throw in some clarinet and some woodwind onto the atmospheric parts?
No, we actually we just wanted him to be on it in some form, kind of, because
Okay.
I mean, he kind of had a big part in, I don't know, at least I'll speak for myself. He had a big part in my musical upbringing. Um, and he was my private teacher for the last year that I was in school. And also the first teacher I ever had that didn't also play guitar, so that was interesting, just taking lessons from a sax player. Um, and yeah, and we could relate to some degree on some metal stuff. And he plays in a metal band called Wax People. It's
Okay.
like a weird uh, gent-ish metal band with woodwinds and stuff out here. But yeah, I mean, but we didn't know like what we wanted him to do beforehand. So.
Okay. Were I mean, at what point in the writing or recording process did you bring Michael in?
Well, actually, we did the interludes separately after the fact.
Okay.
And that was like a separate session where we kind of just set up a minimal drum kit, and I was doing guitar, and he had his electric bass clarinet with all his pedals and stuff, and we kind of just, you know, improvised for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I actually played alto sax for a few years. I've never heard of an electric bass clarinet.
Oh yeah, you played alto? That's cool.
Yeah. Um, so electric bass clarinet meaning it's the clarinet except with amplification.
Yeah, I guess it just has like a, or maybe I don't remember exactly, but it might have just been like a MIDI thing. Like,
Okay.
I think or he just like set up a pedal board and like mic'd it. I don't really remember because I don't know. I was too into setting up my own stuff, I think, at the time. But I mean, yeah, it was just like a bass clarinet, basically.
Right. I mean, you spoke about this wanting to do uh, everything more of everything on this album, more uh, playing faster, more extreme. But did you also want to extend the atmospheric parts and the doom parts?
Yes, that was also, I guess, if you know, if uh, if it felt right. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was kind of right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Where did you guys end up recording this?
So we did the drums actually in Chicago at Electrical Audio, which was really cool.
Albini Studio,
And
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, shout out Taylor Hales, the engineer who helped us out there. Um, yeah, and that was really fun. And then great experience. It was most of our first times in Chicago. And
Did you
then
guys go? Did you guys go to Chicago specifically to record the drum set, or did you happen to be
yeah, we
there?
literally just went to make a cool trip of it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it was a special experience. It was fun. Um,
Why electrical audio? Why Albini Studio?
honestly, like it was Taylor's idea to just like we should just do something different and fun and just I don't know. if we can, like, you know, have a good time.
Yeah. And I should mention your bassist Taylor engineered the rest of the album. Engineered
Correct.
and
Yeah.
produced the rest of the album. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we, over the course of the next couple months after that, we finished it with him back in Van Nuys. So yeah,
And Taylor worked on all your releases, right?
correct, except for the demo, the
Okay.
Subarachnoids bass. Yeah, he's done everything else since then.
Yeah.
So
Uh, how would you describe his approach as an engineer and as a producer?
let's see. I mean, he's amazing at what he does. He's very much will not be afraid to tell you his opinion on something, but in a nice way, of course. um, he's definitely saved my ass a lot of times with some ideas that probably shouldn't have seen the light of day. And but yeah, but also at the same time, I don't know, like just like the fact that he came up with the idea for us to go to Chicago. Like, I feel like he tends to, you know, think of outside the box things that foster creativity. Um, and yeah, he's kind of just open to trying different things, which is great. But also very good at his job and very meticulous, and you know, will spend 14 hours staring at a computer in a day. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And he also worked on those Nails albums, right?
yeah. However, I mean, he was the drummer,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if he did any production work. But yeah,
Okay. Uh, did he handle everything from uh, up to the final mix?
uh, oh, for our newest album,
For yeah, for
yeah,
Emanations.
yeah, he yeah, right. After the we engineered things, you know, drums at Electrical Audio. It was pretty much all him, and then we got it mastered from Nick Townsend, who also mastered Feel and Granular Transformation.
Was
So
Nick somebody that Taylor knew, or did he come from the label?
I mean, Taylor knows him, and then also I think before that, our guitarist Drew has known Nick for a really long time. They played in a band, Dead Beat, together, and yeah. So Nick's been a homie for a while, and is really amazing at what he does. So yeah.
I mean, production wise, how would you compare Disgraced Emanations to Feel?
I had a whole thing about that actually. I I was a little. I think when we did Feel, I just didn't have as much experience and awareness, um, and kind of just like didn't think much about the production as far as like my own tastes go. And so I was definitely not the most stoked afterwards. And it was like a whole learning experience, you know, and I it was great. And so with this one, I was a little bit annoying to Taylor, I think, and kind of just wanted it to sound, yeah, a little different, like, I guess, uh, shittier for a lack of a better term, but like in a good way, you know.
You mean like
And
raw, or maybe?
yeah, like the guitar tones and stuff, and just the way things sat in the mix, maybe not as clear.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it feels like there's
but
more
like he,
space on this one.
yeah, I mean, whatever he did was insane. So it worked out.
So the album will be out on March 22nd. Do you guys have any shows lined up or anything planned as far as tours for the summer?
We are in the process of working on that, so nothing I can talk about yet, but there will be. And then we do have a show that might line up with something mentioned earlier. With Deadstock in July, Deadstock Fest in San Luis Obispo. And that's all we can really talk about as far as shows for now.
Okay. So, Disgraced Emanations from a Tranquil State will be out on March 22nd through Profound Lore Records. Miles, please tell everyone how they can order the album. What's the best way to get it?
Yeah, our Bandcamp, trying to, Bandcamp Apparition Death, I think, and our Instagram apparition.death is the handle. But to get the album, get it at the Profound Lore record shop online, and our Bandcamp. Yeah.
And Profound Lore are doing a few variants for the vinyl release, right?
Correct. Yeah. I don't know the colors off the top of my head because they're pretty wild, but they're cool. So. Yeah.
I think what I saw was there was a fire cloud version, a fire chrome ash version, and then the regular black version for the people who actually want to listen to the record.
There you go. Hell yeah. Well, you heard it first. And then we will have really sick long sleeves coming out with art from Vama Marga, who did the cover, and nice. Another artist, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, Urgoted, Urgoted on Instagram. They are incredible. Yeah. So.
And is all the merch available through the Bandcamp page?
Yeah. So all the merch except the long sleeve will be exclusively available through Profound Lore on their store.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Instagram page. Is that the best way to follow you guys online? Find out about tour dates and things like that?
Yeah, that's pretty much the only online presence we have, I think, besides the Bandcamp. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about the other projects that you have? Anything you're working on that may be coming out soon?
No, I don't really have anything to say about that. Yeah, just free Palestine.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks, Adrian.